Back in the fall of 2012, I got to do a tour with Ian Hunter. Talk about bucket list type stuff. It was just a beautiful, amazing experience, and I can't say enough good things about him. He was great every night, and he was just a joy to be around backstage and going up and down the road. He's rock and roll royalty, and to be able to go out and open for him on all of those nights was great. But he was also nice enough to agree to be on my podcast. And the recording that you're about to hear was made in my hotel room in Bath, England. Ian came down the hallway and came into my room, and we sat down and talked for a little while. And this is part of a much bigger interview that I will post in the description down below. But Ian will mention Ronson, and he's talking about Mick Ronson. You guys probably already know that, the guitar great Mick Ronson. And he also mentions Holley at the end, Steve Holley, which is his drummer. He's a great drummer. He used to play with Wings, and he was just a wonderful guy to be around. But just so you know who he's talking about. But when you hear Ian laughing and just sounding like a fun guy to be around, that's what he was like every day. You know, that's what my memories are. They're very positive. In the future, I might share more memories of that tour. There's so many great memories and stories. I might do a much longer video where I talk about the things that happened. But for now, if you see my roommate Malcolm coming in and out, please forgive him. He's a huge Ian Hunter fan, and he wants to hear the stories. I'll catch you on the other side and have a few more things to say about this. But for now, just imagine you're sitting in my hotel room in Bath, England, listening to the great Ian Hunter.
Oh, yeah. There's a guy called Charlie Fane who was from promoter, and he also managed Sean Arnott. And we're sitting in a hotel in Indianapolis, and Charlie's got the money for the gig, which I think was 10 grand. And it disappeared in the Holiday Inn, in the bar, and there was only maybe three or four, a couple of guys from the band, Charlie, and then there was a woman behind the bar, and there was a guy standing there. And we told them about it, but they didn't do anything. They didn't shut the doors. They didn't lock the bar. They said, "Oh, what are you doing here?" My dad was a cop, you see, so I've got a mouth. Why don't you shut the doors? You know, we've got to find out who did this. And the next thing I know, I'm handcuffed, and he's an off-duty sergeant, this guy. So I'm down there. I'm in the Indianapolis City Jail overnight, and fined $38 the following morning. The judge didn't even look at me. The sergeant went up and whispered in his ear. But Charlie never got his 10 grand back, you know. And Charlie sort of kind of understood. I didn't, coming from England. I was outraged, you know. But Charlie was, look, no questions asked. I just want this money back, you know. I'm like, shut the place. We've got to get the guy, you know. Not a good idea. I remember being in there in the holding cell because you're in the prison, then you go down the holding cell, which is below the court. And there's all these guys, and they're all talking about the gig that night that we're playing, you know. And I haven't got my glasses on. They've taken my glasses away now, so they don't know it's me, you know. And I mean, I was so happy they didn't know it was me. I got bags under my eyes from lying on a steel bench all night, you know, with pee all over the place. And my band could have bailed me at 2 a.m. and they didn't because it would have cost them $400. That's the esteem I was held in. Stan Tippins, the tour manager, could barely restrain himself from laughing. He came about midnight, and it was 16 gigs in a row, and we had a deal where like you had your own room once every 3 or 4 days because you had to share, you know. This was the day I got my own room. I'd been out and bought wine that morning. I had a little altar at the bottom of the bed there. This is all out the window. And Stan comes in with a couple of jumpers and a jacket because I said, I don't know what happened. Maybe he phoned me or I said, it's cold in here, you know. So we brought him and he's like, trying not to laugh. So I've got the jackets and everything, yeah, which I never got. They disappeared into institutional land, you know. All in all, you know, breakfast the following morning. It was an experience, and I got just another night out of it, which is a song on schizophrenic. We moved into a horrible hotel in Evansville, Indiana, and then somebody said, "Well, why don't we check around for other hotels?" But you know how it is. Once you're in, you can't be bothered. But somebody did, and we found this amazing hotel just down the block, and it was a Olympic-sized swimming pool. It was a beautiful hotel, and it was the same money, you know. And so we go in there, and it's me and Ronson, that band we had, Hunter Ronson, and he said, "Let's go down. Let's go and have a swim." You know, well, we weren't in great shape. You know, we smoked a couple of backpacks a day, you know, and he liked brandy, and I like beer. And so we go down there. We've got silly Bermuda shorts on, and we're going down there, and we're sitting by the pool, you know, drinking and having a fag. And he said, "Let's go. Let's do a lap." You know, so we did the lap, and it was kind of like crawl, dog paddle, breaststroke. You know, anything. It's a long way a lap in an Olympic-sized swimming pool. And then he said, "Well, let's go back." So we fought our way back. We got out, and it was like, shit, no problem, you know. Feeling really fit as we lit another fag, you know. And we just sat down. All of a sudden, like halfway down the pool, there's like an opening from locker rooms. And two of these teams came out, and they were all big guys, maybe 18, 21, 20, somewhere around there. One lot had blue gear on, the other lot had red gear on, and the one lot raced down the one end of the pool, and the other lot raced down the other end of the pool. And they commenced to like two to a lane, you know, crossing each other halfway, right? They doing this for 45 minutes, up, down, flat out. And me and him are just sitting. I never said a word to him. He never said a word to me. It was like, oh man, we must be wrecks, you know. And it turned out this place was these kids were, you know, local champions or whatever it was, you know. But we had been feeling quite good about ourselves there for about 5 minutes, and then that was the end of that. Mick was hilarious. I remember I got the key to the city of Cleveland one night, and the same night we were down on the waterfront, and we went in this bar, and he wound up. He challenged the biggest guy in the bar, who was huge, to a fight. And the guy was looking at him like, if I touch him, I'll kill him, because he's a squirt, you know what I mean? Mick was 5'8" and weighed about 140 pounds, you know. But if he had a few, you know, he would become really obnoxious, and it was always with the biggest bloke in the room for some reason. And I'm like, I just got the key to the city this morning, now I'm going to get drowned. You know. He was hilarious, Mick. Told the same joke for a year in the dressing room to people who came in to visit us every night, and would laugh at his own joke louder than anybody else. And that's what they were laughing at. They weren't laughing at the joke. The joke was crap. They were laughing at him laughing at it. And after, you know, and I'd be like, do it somewhere else, you know. And all these girls would be looking at me like, you don't like Mick, poor Mick, because Mick was the girls' kind of guy, you know what I mean? And I was the big bad guy that wouldn't let him sing on stage, you know. He was like, will you sing a song? No. Would not sing, you know, because he didn't want to go away from his amp. He hated monitors. He didn't like, you know, he didn't like the sound of monitors. So he always, you know, he went out after Bowie retired. DeFries was going to make him the second Bowie. And he had a 9-piece band and everything. But he just couldn't do it because he hated being away from the amp, you know. Couldn't go on the middle mic. He never wanted to do it. He just liked it where he was. But, you know, all the girls would be like, let Mick sing, let Mick sing. Ollie came out with one that was yesterday on the bus. It was about poaching in a lake. And the guy was fishing in the lake, right? And he caught 2 or 3 fish, and they're in the bucket, you know, like. And the guy that, you know, the guy who polices the lake comes up and says, what are you doing with those fish? And he says, well, they're my fish. I'll keep them at home, actually. And the bloke said, what are you talking about? Well, he said, what I do is I've got them in a little pond at home in the backyard, but the pond's not very big and they get bored, you know. So I bring them down here in a bucket, right? And then I throw them in the lake, you know, and they have a good run round for about an hour, you know. Then I call them in and they come back, you know. And put them in the bucket, and I go home. The guy said, I don't believe you. And the fellow said, well, watch this. And he gets the bucket and throws it in the lake with all the fish in it. Right? Fish go off. He said, all right, then, we'll call them back. And he said, call who back? That's on his best for a long time. We're talking about Steve Holley, the drummer that's in my band. You know.
That's a good. Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time to do this and putting up with me.
Well, it was a pleasure, Otis, and thanks for letting us close for you on this memorable tour. All right, then. I'll see you in a bit.
That's the great Ian Hunter. Man, that was just so much fun. I can't describe how much fun that was and what great memories that brings back to me. I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you want to hear the rest of that interview, just click down below. It'll be in the description of this video. But be sure and subscribe and share this with your friends, and I'll keep uploading these. Thank you guys very much, and take care of each other.